Hello. Today we're going to be reviewing the market analysis and report for 701 Russell Avenue in Gaithersburg, Maryland. My name is Meredith Lenore, and I appreciate your time. Gaithersburg, Maryland is located in Montgomery County and is considered a suburb of Washington, D.C. The site that we're going to review today is located approximately 18 miles northwest of downtown Washington, D.C. Gaithersburg has a household income of approximately 85,000, and as of 2017, the total population for the city was estimated at just over 68,000. 701 Russell Avenue is located about a half a mile off of the interchange of I-270 and Montgomery Village Avenue. The site is actually pretty uniquely positioned where it has right-of-way frontage on 4 different roadways. When this was originally built in 1978 as the Lakeforest Mall, it was a regional draw, and it still has tenants including Lord & Taylor, Macy's, and JCPenney's. There's over 1 million square footage of retail gross leasable area, and it has about 5,700 parking spaces. The physical site characteristics of this location present some unique challenges. First, there is a retention pond on the corner of Montgomery Village Avenue and Russell Avenue that impedes your visibility to the retail space, to the mall. In addition, there's some grade differences around the site between the roadways and the finished floor of the mall, as we'll see on the following slides. This street view is taken from the corner of Montgomery Village Avenue and Lost Knife Road. You can see how the parking area of the mall is set up a good 12 to 15 feet higher than the road right-of-way. You can't even see the mall building that is located behind this parking lot. In contrast, this is taken from the south side of the property, so you would consider this probably the rear of the property on Odenhall Road. This roadway sits actually higher than the finished floor of the retail space. And then over to your right, you can actually see the public transportation station that is located on this property. We'll bring up that public transportation later in the presentation. Immediate surrounding uses to the Lakeforest Mall property include some multi-story office. You also have some sporadic retail, including a few large boxes, such as Costco to the north. And then you have quite a few multifamily housing developments that surround the perimeter of this location. Today, our analysis is broken into 4 parts. We're going to start with a review of the potential for office on the site. Then we'll move into residential. Part 3 will be retail. And then finally, we'll discuss the impact of mixing uses or having multiple uses on the site. For purposes of this analysis, what you're seeing in front of you is going to be the market area, or what I refer to as the primary trade area throughout this presentation. The primary trade area is where this development is going to pull the vast majority of its customers from. This particular primary trade area runs from Seneca State Park to the north. I-370 is the southern boundary. Seneca Highway to the west. And then Snofner School Road to the east. So that will encompass our primary trade area. When reviewing the potential for office development on this property, we first have to start with a conversation of the population base and the employment growth in the trade area. So population in the primary trade area was expected to grow at a pretty stable rate of 5.76%. So not a huge growth rate, but again, pretty stable. The income is strong at $96,000. That could possibly indicate a strong presence of office-based employees within the trade area. And then I-270 is considered a biotechnical corridor. There's tech-based companies. There's also a lot of medical users. And in fact, the largest single employer in the trade area is Ashbury Methodist Village, which is a senior living and healthcare facility. So it fits right in to that indication that this is a biotechnical corridor. In addition, the two largest employment sectors within the primary trade area are public administration and healthcare. Unemployment sat at just under 7% in 2015. In reviewing the amount of office supply, we looked at both the overall suburban market that included Rockville and Germantown in addition to Gaithersburg, as well as just the primary market area or the primary trade area. So in the overall market, you have over 15 million square footage of office space that's currently in inventory on the market. In the primary trade area, it's much more manageable. It's just under 4 million. And then looking at that amount of space, you also can see that there's a significant difference in suburban Maryland's vacancy rate overall for office and the vacancy rate in the primary trade area. So the overall Gaithersburg, Rockville, Germantown office vacancy rate sat at a whopping 24%. The primary trade area was down to 12%. So still pretty high at 12%, but significantly less than the surrounding markets. In addition, only 2 new office developments were proposed within the primary trade area. One was 100% pre-leased, and the other was already 64% pre-leased, which indicates fairly strong demand for office space within this sub-market. Then compared to these 2 proposed spaces, Lakeforest Mall property is similarly positioned to highway access, and it's actually more convenient to public transportation. At the time of the data we were provided, and according to Avison Young, the rental and absorption rates in suburban Maryland have been on the rise. After hitting a 5-year low in 2014, rents bounced back to just under about $26 a square foot. And then that absorption rate had been pretty volatile over the previous 5 years. The absorption rate had ranged from negative 500,000 to more than 100,000 absorbed. In 2015, that absorption was positive, and indications were that both absorption and asking rents in 2016 and beyond would be even stronger. Despite the fact that the primary market area boasts a lower vacancy rate than the Montgomery County average and the rest of the surrounding suburban market, the property owner should probably be cautious about the amount of office space that is incorporated into this development. The vacancy rate of the primary trade area is still hovering above 10%. From a pure site condition standpoint, the Lakeforest Mall does have the potential to meet all the site characteristics that a successful office development would need. Those include proximity to public transportation. It could possibly have a mixing of uses. It has convenient highway access. And the size of the property would possibly allow for some public green space, some public gathering space. In addition, the job and population growth, while not huge, is stable, which would allow for some limited amount of proposed new office space to be incorporated. Inclusion of office should only be considered by the developer if the development can provide an office product that is unique from the existing supply. And as we'll go into later, the size of the property and its current site conditions do provide a bit of unique opportunity to have some adjoining uses that may benefit office, and again, may have some green space and things like that that office users would be attracted to. In short, this analysis recommends office be used only as an ancillary use and only if the overall development incorporates other uses that would benefit and supplement the office component. Since the last census, and as we'll see on the following slide with our market area demographic report, the Lakeforest Mall trade area has experienced just under 11% growth in total population. That population is expected to grow another 6% over the next 5 years. 62% of the population is under the age of 45, 25.5 are under 18, and those figures indicate a strong presence of young families with children. In fact, family households encompass 68% of the population within the trade area. The poverty level of the trade area was at 6.7%, which was significantly below the 2018 United States poverty rate of 14.6. Number of households in this market are expected to grow 5.7% from 2015 to 2020. I reviewed a transit feasibility study that was done by Whitman, Rickart, and Associates, and it estimated the population within the city of Gaithersburg would increase by over 25,000 people from 2010 to 2040, so a 30-year period. That's 42% growth. Within the same study, the employment growth was even more favorable, with 33,000 jobs added to the city within that same period. I actually mapped the trade area into some demographic software that my company provides and found the following information. Some things that are notable, again, the young households is certainly notable. There is quite a bit of ethnic diversity in this trade area. And then there's, again, a solid household income at over 90,000. This heat map also provides some perspective on residential densities. The areas in red are the highest densities, and as they get lighter, they're lesser. So you can see some of the retail corridors, like on the opposite side of 270. Those are less dense in residential, so those are actually lighter. And then as you go east from our site, there are some heavy multifamily housing developments that are indicated by the red. Rental rates as of 2015 within the primary market area range from about $1.50 per square foot, that was for a 2-bedroom apartment, to $2.60 per square foot for a studio. In monthly rent terms, those ranges are from about $1,100 to $1,700, just under $1,800. Vacancy rates in the submarket were relatively low at 4.3%. It was a bit higher than the suburban Maryland vacancy rate. That was at 4.1%. However, when you compare these to the overall United States vacancy rate for rental properties at 7%, they were much lower. In addition, comparable rental properties that were positioned in the immediate area around Lakeforest Mall had a very low vacancy rate of 3.9%. The chart on your screen indicates that Gaithersburg had the highest percentage of rental home properties and the lowest percentage of owned home properties when compared to the immediately surrounding markets. In addition, Gaithersburg had a median home value of $380. That median home value, as well as the median monthly rent rate, would be middle of the pack when compared to its neighboring cities such as Germantown or Rockville. When reviewing the projected supply for this development, we did come across several multifamily housing developments that were proposed, none of which are located within the primary trade area. Some are north in Germantown, some are to the south, none within the primary trade area, but all were proposed as a portion of an overall master plan, mixed use or multiple use development. These 4 proposed developments would introduce about 2,600 new multi-use units to the overall market. In addition to just the demand for multi-use housing within Gaithersburg, there's also some site characteristics that lead me to believe that single-family housing isn't the best use on this property. The subject property is located along 3 highly traveled corridors and is in with close proximity to I-270. That's going to provide substantial noise and light pollution to the site. In addition, some of the surrounding uses are pretty high-intensity uses, which would lead me to believe that maybe not the best location for some single-family housing. As we mentioned in the office component, the subject property provides some unique characteristics that would provide a product that's not found within the primary trade area. Um, the subject property has excellent access to public transit. It has a public transit bus stop on site. Also very close to the highway. Highway access is easy on and off. It's also close proximity to a MARC commuter rail. In addition, the size of the property is just a benefit that not many comparable properties can obtain. So the site could be developed to incorporate green space and public space and pedestrian access that a tighter site would not be able to accomplish. Finally, one additional benefit that should be noted at least is that this property has now been included into the enterprise zone. So that allows the developer both state and local income tax credits for the development. That's a unique opportunity for this particular site. Given these factors, we believe that the Lakeforest Mall has the opportunity to capture about 10% of the housing demand in the trade area. Note that both apartment and townhome development should probably be phased in order to meet or exceed the expected absorption rates. In our retail analysis, we looked at 3 separate sectors of retail. We started with food and beverage and looked at the amount of money that was spent in the trade area today on food and beverage. So food and beverage includes food or drink and alcohol that's consumed away from home. In this trade area, $132 million, over $132 million was spent, or just over $4,200 per household. We next looked at GAFO, which includes kind of that general merchandise category, such as department stores or hardware stores or furniture stores. The total spent in the trade area was $358 million. Finally, we looked at the sector including grocery and neighborhood goods and convenience. The items purchased in this trade area totaled $321 million. To determine the trade area's capture rate for each of these individual retail sectors, we looked at the total sales within each category that we just looked at, and then we looked at our expected capture rate. The capture rate was modified downward based on the amount of impacted, we'll call them competitors, so competitive developments. For example, for neighborhood goods and services, if there was a nice grocery store across the street and we were intending to put a grocer in our development, that would obviously be a large impacted development for us, and we would have to modify our capture rate downwards to accommodate that competitor. So you took your total sales, you multiplied it times your capture rate, and then you divided it by the sales per square foot, or the expected sales per square foot. In this scenario, we did $400 per square foot of grocery space, and then $350 per square foot for all other users. So you can see the amount of retail that calculation came to. For food and beverage, retail supported was 75,000 square feet. So large amount of space could be provided for restaurant type users. For GAFO, 51,000 square feet. And then finally, neighborhood goods and services, 192,000 square feet. Per the information provided by the CoStar Retail Report, there is just over 8 million square feet of existing retail rentable space in the trade area. 141,000 square feet of that space is available for lease today. Of the active development projects within 3 miles, as you'll see on the slide, there were 8 projects, only 3 incorporated retail users. While our analysis points towards the fact that there's not, a huge amount of unmet retail demand in the trade area, it's worth noting that if you are to redevelop the mall has over 1 million square feet of retail space available. 75% of which is leased. So that's going to significantly change your overall supply and demand structure within the market. There are some particular retail uses that seem to be underserved within the market. Given that there's a strong presence of office-based workers within the trade area, you have over 16,000 quote-unquote white-collar jobs, probably office-based jobs within the trade area. But restaurants immediately around the Lakeforest Mall property seem to be limited. Areas with clustering of restaurants like Kentland Square or Rio Washington Center are outside this trade area boundary. In addition, the higher income levels in this trade area, there's a lack of a presence of a high-end grocery, which seems like an opportunity for this site. Many of the retailers within the mall would most likely like to remain, have a presence in the market, which presents an opportunity for tenants to obtain tenants with a retail development. These market characteristics lead me to believe that the amount of supported retail suggested by my capture rate calculations of 300,000 to 350,000 square feet would be appropriate for this site. As I've mentioned several times throughout the presentation, I've come to the conclusion that within this primary trade area, there's not a large amount of unmet demand in any of the three sectors, office, residential, or retail. However, there's also not another cohesive multiple use development within the trade area. I believe that the creative and strategic mixing of uses could be critical to the site in order to obtain rents and to get the absorption rate needed to justify the construction of a large-scale project. There's opportunity for a successful new development in all three sectors at this location through offering a superior product compared to what's existing out there in the trade area. If designed appropriately, office and multi-use, multifamily users would be attracted to the proximity of retail and possibly restaurants as the tenants. Retail could possibly be attracted to the existing population base and traffic counts, as well as any new proposed multifamily. This particular site also provides a unique opportunity due to, again, its size and its road network. Retail and office could potentially be positioned on the major roadways with higher visibility, while residential could be tucked away in less traffic and quieter locations on the south side of the property. The existing pond that we talked about at the beginning of the presentation could possibly be incorporated into some public green space or meeting space, gathering space. The existing public transportation stop on site is a benefit to all three of these uses, as well as the proximity to the MARC station. While this wasn't thoroughly investigated as part of this particular market study, the developer may and should possibly consider incorporating a hotel into the premises. The proximity to the surrounding office components, as well as hospital and medical type uses could justify the additional lodging supply. The nearby hotels on the east side of I-270 include a Hilton, a Hampton Inn, a Town Place Suites, and a Holiday Inn. My decision and recommendation for the developer is to redevelop the Lakeforest Mall property into multiple uses while providing an overall cohesive design through vehicular and pedestrian interconnectivity, through shared public green space, and through possibly aesthetic alignment. The site supports a retail and residential first development, retail at 300 to 350 square feet. The residential component should be mostly multifamily housing. And then office should be considered an ancillary use due to the still high vacancy rate in the market. As mentioned in the previous slide, developers should also investigate uses not verified in this report, including entertainment venues, hotels, and possibly some medical space.